Hello, good evening, good evening. I was trying to come on here earlier, but I ran into something yesterday and I literally have been resting all day, literally. And so I was like, well, I want to get up and do something. So I'm going to go ahead and uh, come on and do my live with you guys for Love and Marriage Huntsville. Um, I don't know where to start with this because this was kind of jam-packed, you guys. It was jam a lot went on. This was a really actually, this was a good quality reality show. This was a really good quality reality show, and, I liked it. This is Love and Marriage Huntsville. It's called Softball Hardball Shade, Season 3, Episode 14. So let's get right into it. Um It opens up with Tisha talking to the doctor. I cannot remember his name. I think it's Dr. Franklin. So it opens up, they're still continuing their conversation. And this was a really good therapy session. It was really good. I think that Tisha's eyes are opening up to some other possibilities in her life. I don't know what they are, but I can see that she is a lot more aware of herself and her being than she was when when Love and Marriage first came on. So the doctor says to Tisha about Marceau, so he has never deceived you in any way? And Tisha says, not that I know of. And he asks her, how do you deal with the tension of how he shows you love and how you would like for him to show you love? And Tisha says she's trying to adjust. So she's trying to adjust to how he would want to show her love. Martel is not Martel. Well, Martel's messed up too, but Marceau, you guys, is a messed up individual. When it comes to his marriage, he is very messed up. And I do not know much about his upbringing other than what he and his brother have exposed here, and that is that they had some, financial challenges growing up, and that put in them a drive to want to do more. And I think that when that happens, sometimes that drive to want to make money becomes more important than how to have good relationships. Because for Tisha to say she's trying to adjust, because she paused before she answered that. She's been giving a lot in this marriage. She goes on to say that early in her marriage, Marceau told her that she was too independent and he wanted her to be more interdependent or intra-dependent. I think she said intra, but I was like, okay, intra-dependent, that usually means within. Intra is within. And she said she changed in order to please him. So she's trying to adjust to the way that he wants to love her and not the way she wants to be loved. She's trying to give all of that up. She's trying to give up all of how she wants to be loved so she can adjust to how he loves her. And then her independence, she's given that up. She changed it because she wanted to include him in more. This is a sad meeting. It's a good meeting because it's opening her up to so much more. And hopefully it's opening up other women who are in this situation to so much more as well. Um, the doctor brings up a good point. He tells Tisha, because Tisha says she doesn't know, why he's so afraid. She doesn't know why Marcel was so afraid or why he wants her to change so much for him. She didn't say those words, but basically, okay. And he says that the reason Marceau wants him. Oh, she didn't know why he wanted her to be so dependent on him. And the doctor says the reason that Marceau wants her to be so dependent on him is because of his fear of loss. He says that the fear of loss and her dependence on him, he is because he is afraid of losing her. He doesn't want her to leave him. So what he does, you guys, this is important. Marceau wants to have complete and total control of Tisha. He doesn't even want her to be a being. That is not love. That's not love. The doctor says, so is he dependent on you for anything? Tisha says, maybe sexual needs. I don't know of anything else. If a man is only dependent on you in your marriage for sexual needs, and he doesn't see anything else that you have to offer him, he can get that any place. After 15 years, these are her answers. This is so sad. Makes me want to hug her. It does. The doctor says to her in the end that she needs to validate herself as an individual and not as a wife. That is very important. If there are any other young women in here listening to this, you can get down in the comments and let me know, because that is really important. This is why we have all said over the past couple of years that we see Tisha as someone who is very insecure. And it is right here in this statement from the doctor when he tells her that she needs to validate herself as an individual and not as a wife. At one point, remember Marcel said she used to walk around and it was like she owned the room when she walked around because she had her head held high. So she was owning herself then, but he comes in and he takes all of that away from her because she's in love with him. She loves her husband. She doesn't know that she doesn't have to give all that up just because she loves him. I believe she's giving it up because he's not giving her anything to hang on to. So she's giving all of herself, trying to hang on by a thread. Made me feel terrible for her. And it also makes me feel terrible for this joke I'm about to tell. Because even in this meeting, I love Tisha, but Tisha has 2 master's degrees and an undergraduate. I cannot continue to let her get by on these phonetics. But at one point when she was talking to the doctor and he said to her, when she was explaining about early in her marriage that Marceau told her she was too independent and he wanted her to be more dependent on him, she says, and I changed that, like DAT, that you are a woman with 2 master's degrees, you are intelligent, you are a real estate developer, you have an undergraduate, you have overcome the odds and the likelihood. As much as educated as we are as Black women, it is still overcoming the odds. So Tisha, I can't let you get by on those phonetics. I don't even feel bad. I can't feel bad about it. Now we're at the park with Melody and Martel, and you have got to hear this. I want to know if you all heard what I heard at the park. I want to try to bring some people on if enough people come in today. I want to bring enough people on to have your say and tell me what you think about Love and Marriage Huntsville show last night, because it was a very high quality show. It was a really good show. All of the segments were good. So Melody and Martel are at the park. I love Lil Milani. You see Lil Milani just walking around, just walking around, just smiling. I just wanted to hug her and kiss her. I love that little baby. I love Milani. And she's always smiling. For her to have been born into, such a divisive marriage, to have been born that way. And she always is such a delightful uh, person to bring onto the screen. She's just a delight to bring on the screen, and she's just walking around, just being outgoing. You can tell she's going to be outgoing. Okay, she's just like I just liked her. Okay, and so this was really it, you guys, in the park. I'm going to tell you something that I picked up on, and I want to know if you guys picked up on it as well. So Melody explains to the children that Miss Price has given them an assignment and wants them to open up to talk about the transition from being in a two-parent household to now having to be split up and going back and forth between their mother and father. To get them to open up, Melody has some cards, and she starts opening the cards and asking them questions, and they really start to open up. I'm not going to go through every question she asked them. I do want to go through what their responses were, period, because MJ was owning the park. Okay, MJ put his foot down. MJ says, "This is how it's going to be. These are the rules. You all are going to get back together." And, bless his heart, he doesn't know that that's not going to happen. Mel is so over Martel. She's only dealing with him as much as she needs to deal with him. So they asked the little girl, I think it was which Malia. No, after as they were talking, Malia brings up, "Do any of you guys have any secret crushes?" And Martel plays around with them a little bit and tells them, "I have a secret crush, and uh, and I'm not going to tell you who it is unless you can do whatever." And so he tells them that they are his secret crush, which is really, really, sweet for a dad. But then Malia, being the little Melody that she is, says, "I already know the truth. I already know the truth. We saw you in the elevator. And we saw you." She's letting him know, "I saw you in the elevator with another woman at the hotel," she said. Malia says she saw them at the hotel. Who is this? They're saying, yeah, Letitia is waking up. And I'm glad. This is, you guys, I'm glad that they are showing this to us, because this whole episode was just so good. Even this meeting in the park with Melody and Martel and the kids, because this shows us how African Americans can mend their relationship when they need to co-parent. And it was really a good meeting. It was just a good quality show. I loved it. And I'm sorry, I don't know why my voice is just a mess. Okay. Um, so she tells him that she saw them in the elevator. Then Martel is shocked that she saw them in the elevator. Like, when did you see me in the elevator?" And Malia tells them, and her and Mel has this conversation just between the two of them. And Mel says, "Okay, I'll just keep it between the two of us." She says that to Malia. Malia was with Mel when she saw Martel go into the elevator with another woman. So here is the thing. Was Mel following Martel? Because she quickly ended that little segment right there and sent the kids to go play. Well, she probably had to take the kids with her to follow Martel, because she could not find a babysitter. And had she needed a babysitter, she would have had to tell her mom or her mother-in-law why she needed it, and they would have, and the mother-in-law would have definitely told Martel, so she couldn't get a babysitter that way. And she probably did not want to get a friend to babysit. It's just, I wonder if she followed Martel. So she asked Martel, when is he going to tell the kids about the side baby? And Martel and she says she wants to be present because she doesn't know how they're going to take the news. He quickly lets her know he may not want her to be present and that he may not even tell them until they're 18. He may not even tell them until they're 18. And you know, Chitlins was watching. Chitlins has this episode and think, why is it that he doesn't want to tell his other children about our baby? Chitlins is the prime example of an adulterer female. She doesn't care what the man does, how he treats her, as long as he comes around. Because you would have to tell about my baby. You would have to talk to your kids and your family about my baby. You would not be treating my kids like that, as if they were some, side baby. Even if it was a side baby, you wouldn't be treating them like that. But Chitlins doesn't seem to care. Tisha, okay, let me see. Is there anything else I want to cover about that? Oh, in Martel's confessional, he goes, well, me and Melody, we had something special. So sometimes he talks like he has good sense. Sometimes he's on the upper positive side of his psychopathology. That's what I'll call it. Tisha at Marceau's office. And Marceau lets Tisha know that he had to fire Uncle Mike. Poor Uncle Mike. Uncle Mike I'm going to tell you, he looked kind of shady. Earlier in the episodes when they were having dinner with Uncle Mike and I think Aunt Linda, Uncle Mike seems kind of a little, he may not be, okay? So allegedly, he just, to me, seemed a little shady. And Marceau is the kind of man, when it comes to business, if you tell me what you're going to do, I can help you make it happen. We got to be in it together. But you can't just do me any old kind of way. I'm gonna get rid of you real quick if you do that. And it doesn't matter if you're a family member. So Marceau also was able to keep the relationship with the architect, with the principal from the company of Uncle Mike, because that person called Marceau and wanted to continue the relationship, even though Uncle Mike was no longer going to be a part of it. So Marceau is going to be able to work to get Scott Manor built. I think that's what it's called. Tisha says that she lets Marceau know that she has texted everyone about the 5K event that they're having that's called Destiny. And Destiny and Mel got back to her, but Tiffany and Kimmie have not gotten back to her. And then she asked Marceau, how is he feeling? And Marceau had a one-word answer for Tisha: disconnected. Tisha said, you're definitely disconnected from me. I don't know from what else, but you're definitely disconnected from me. And he brings in the excuse of the pandemic. You all, if you are a married couple and you didn't get closer during the pandemic, something is wrong. He says that he's disconnected, and he admitted by his nonverbals that he agrees with Tisha that he's disconnected from her. And he goes on to blame the pandemic. Maybe the pandemic was keeping him from getting to his other woman, allegedly. And that's why he's disconnected. You should not be disconnected from your wife during the pandemic. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. At all. There were so many connections going on up in here. It's just like, that's ridiculous, Tisha. Don't let him do that. Tisha goes on to tell him that she met with Dr. Francis, and Dr. Francis told her that she needed to, he asked her who she was outside of just being a wife and a mother. And she went on to repeat to Marceau how Dr. Francis encouraged her, and Marceau gaslit her. Did you all hear that? He gaslit her. He started using his brainwashing skills to make her think that the Dr. Franklin was in the wrong for trying to make her want to separate herself and become more confident about who she is, so she can actually be, you know, secure in her relationship, if that's the cause of her downfall. Marceau is scary. These men, these M's out there in Huntsville, I tell you, he starts telling her, well, maybe he's wrong. Maybe the doctor's wrong. Maybe you're a good wife and a great mother and a great daughter. But notice he said good wife and great mother and great daughter. So he does not see Tisha as a great wife. At one point, I tried to have some hope in this marriage because I know Tisha is in love with him. I want her to continue to see Dr. Franklin so that she can build up the strength and the energy, the stamina, and all that she needs to leave Marceau. She needs to leave Marceau soon, very soon. This is 15 years in, and this woman is feeling this way. I don't like it. I do not like it at all. He is gaslighting her the whole way, taking away all her confidence, all the security she has going for herself, making her feel like she's at fault. And all of that, more than likely and allegedly, is because he has cheated and is cheated. And maybe Martel and Mel were right. He cheated. And he's afraid of her finding out and leaving him. You know why he don't want her to leave, though? He don't want to pay child support. No man wants that bag. No man wants that bag. He would have to work even harder than he's working now to keep up himself and her and the kids. And they got, I think, 3 or 4 kids. Additional to that is he has the opportunity to see his friend Martel and what he's going through after going through a divorce. He doesn't want to become that man. I digress on that. Next, we're at the baseball field because Lewis and Tiffany Whitlow are celebrating their 1-year anniversary. And so everyone's going to play baseball. We have Mel, Martel, Tiffany, and Lewis on a team. And then we have the Scotts with their wives on another team. And it looks like the Scotts won. I'm not going to go through the whole baseball thing, but it looks like the Scotts won. And it is what it is. The Whitlows introduced their new friends, which are the cast of the show, to their old friends. And what is this? Once she wakes up, the brainwashing ends. Letitia can make the necessary adjustments and hold Marceau accountable. Their marriage is hardly over if she takes control of the situation. So you think their marriage, you think if she takes control over the situation, the marriage will not be. I would love for that to happen. I would love for that to happen because then maybe because he has to be a little insecure to think that he has to take control of her. If he cheated, what he needs to do is, and let us see this, please let us see it. If he really cheated and he knows he cheated, I want them to have a conversation about it on the show and move forward in their marriage because Tisha doesn't want to let go. Tisha is not, she's not as powerful, not as strong as Mel. So she's not going to want to let go. And if she doesn't want to let go and she wants to keep her marriage going, then I want her to do that. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. It would hurt, but I would leave. I would be gone. But there is no marriage that gets to a number of years and not undergo something, and sometimes things happen and you might hear about it and you might not be sure about it. And that may be where they are. I have no idea. I just want him to stop brainwashing her. I digress on that. Clearly, the Scots won this baseball game. The Whitlows go back in. They introduce the new friends to their old friends and vice versa. They go and sit out in the lobby or some area that is this is called sweet seats, I think. I think it's called the sweet seats. Um, because I've been to a baseball game, a Braves game actually, and their sweet seats are not as elegant as going to, because I've also been to the Falcons games. And we used to get sweet seats because of what I did in corporate America. I worked with a large company, and we used to get what is known as the suites all of the time. When we drove up, we drove up on a marble floor, not even a paved floor, okay, at the Falcons games. And it was elegant. I loved it. But then we also had the sweet seats at the Braves games in Atlanta, and it was more like, a beer hall. And that's what this looked like a beer hall. So I think that's where they were, that area that they were in. That's where they let, important people go to watch the game. And so that's where they were seated. Mel starts talking about Martel and her anniversary that they would have been celebrating. Why she brought this up, I do not know. She could have left that in her head and not mentioned it at all. She went on to what I would call really antagonize Martel by saying Martel's probably sitting there in his own feelings right now, feeling it in his soul what he did. Martel wasn't going to take that hit. He starts saying that he divorced her. And they start getting into this argument about who divorced who. Mel's high-pitched voice comes on. She goes, "Oh, H, no, let's go on and rewind this tape real quick." And she, what they call, goes through the fourth wall and tells the producers to rewind the tape right now. That's just how mad and high-pitched she was. She went through the fourth wall to make sure everyone knew that he didn't divorce her. I really want Mel to get therapy on her own individually. I know she's very busy right now. I say this because I want her to ignore Martel. I want her to stop enticing him, and I want her to just let it go and let it be. It happened, and I want her to go deal with it in therapy. He's never going to soothe you. He's never going to make you feel good about disrespecting you. He's not going to make you feel good about that. It's all it's almost as if she feels he owes her something, and Martel is a psychopath, for lack of a better word, allegedly. I want to tell you, at first I thought he was a sociopath. but I believe he is a psychopath because when you look at the definition of a psychopath, it says that all sociopaths are not psychopaths, but all psychopaths are sociopaths. And I went into psychology today and I found this. Psychopaths display different traits depending on their disorder, but common signs include superficial charm, and you know Martel loves to be charming, a grandiose notion of self-worth, that's him, the need for stimulation and impulsiveness, that right there is the adultery that he committed in his marriage, the stimulation and impulsiveness. The pathological lying, he lies every episode about Melody cheating and Melody doing this. The reason Melody went to the hotel was to get away from him and probably to think. It was not to cheat, it was to get away from him. The other part is of the definition is the ability to manipulate others and a lack of remorse and empathy. He has no remorse and empathy for what he has done in his marriage. Because if he did, he would not be behaving the way that he did. So I was calling him just a straight narcissist or saying that he had a pathology to him. He does have a pathology to him. And I think I found that he is a psychopath. That's why he even goes out and when Mel is in her vehicle, he tries, just opens up the door, just pulls it open, even though it didn't come open because she had it locked. But the fact that he thinks that he can just open up the door after someone has gotten into their car tells you how impulsive he is. He needs help. I mean, we've all needed help at one point. I myself have had therapy, so that's not, I'm not taking a dig at him. I'm saying he does need it, and next week we'll see how he and Maurice sit down with Dr. Franklin. Even though Marceau in the commercials anyway are saying it's not a good idea for him, and he's the one who needs it more than anybody. At any rate, uh, Martel says, I filed for divorce, and Mel posted it. No, he said, I said I wanted a divorce, and Mel goes online and she puts, I filed for divorce. And he was trying to say that she did that just because he had asked her for a divorce. We all know Mel divorced Martel. Martel even said that last season. Martel doesn't act like a man who even wanted the divorce. He would have kept the marriage going if she would have allowed his cheating. Mel goes on to try to prove her point and explains there were many times she told him she wanted a divorce, and there were a very small amount of times when he said he wanted a divorce. That's just what happens when people argue. Martel is a fabricator. I do not believe him at all. Lewis tries to break up the argument and tells Martel to just, to stop. He tries to bring a balance and get Martel to be humble and get Martel to just bow out. But Martel, as you can see, he's not going to bow out because he's psychotic. He's enjoying that dialogue that Mel is giving him. And I want Mel to stop doing that for him. This part of Lewis I really like. I really like him being a part of the show for this reason. For this reason right here is why I think that he brings a really great balance between all of the other males on the show, because the others are like really good friends and they all seem to have the same type of issues going on differently, but it's the same issue differently. Even Maurice. And I believe that Lewis is a good part of the show. This made me want him and Tiffany to stay on. As much as I dislike Tiffany, I do not like Tiffany at all. Tiffany is like a Karen. Tiffany's like a real Karen. I understand Destiny. Stephanie. I understand Destiny when she called Tiffany a Karen. I just want Mel to gather her bearings and not give in to all of this energy that she wants to give in. She needs to take that energy, put it into therapy so that when she comes out to get with Martel, everything's okay. Destiny keeps intervening in the debate as well. I don't know what she's saying because it's kind of like production overlooked a lot of her statements, but she was involved in the argument, but she was on Mel's side. Now the men exit. Lewis has another good idea. He's like, let's just go outside. He's like, let's just take him out of this situation. And while they are sitting out there, Tish and Marceau show up. Marceau goes out there because he sees that there's some energy in the room, and he says that's too much estrogen for him. When he sees a bunch of women getting into it, he just gets out of the way. And he goes out there and figures things out, and they start joking around with Martel for it. But did you see the expression on Martel's face whenever Marceau was joking around with Martel for getting into the debate? Martel always gives Marceau that look as if to say, you got your nerve, you know? And that right there also makes me think that Marceau cheated. The way that Martel and Melody, even in the way that Melody, handles Tisha with some of her nonverbals, it lets me know that something out there about Marceau is true. And even with Tisha in the therapy, she's not even sure if it's not true. And her family has heard it. They're not sure if it's not true. At any rate, I don't know if I believe that there is another baby. However, I do believe that he did something. I do believe that. So now the ladies are here, okay? Tisha sits down and she's talking about um, she's getting ready to talk to them about well, before Tisha walks in, let me tell you this. Kimmie, whenever the men leave, Kimmie tells Mel, she says, at the end of the day, I think a lot of this is that you need to find a middle ground where you can get out what you all need to get out and do it without having it go this far, having it escalate this far. And then Kimmie tells her, we always walk in the door good, and then we leave not good. And it's becoming extremely consistent. That's what Kimmie says. And Mel responds saying that she has triggers. And her triggers is when he's making up lies about her. I understand. I have triggers. We all have triggers. That is why it is important to have self-control. Even the Bible tells us we need to have self-control over our behaviors because none of us are perfect. So even God knew that one of the fruit of the Spirit needed to be self-control because he knew that some of us would have the tendency to just go off the rails, okay? So, and Destiny brings that out real good. She says one of the things she learned in her therapy is when you know what your triggers are, it's important for you to be in control of them. Mel's going to have to be in control of them. When you're not in control of your triggers, it means you have a lot of growing to do. You have not grown up. You have a lot of growing to do. So I wanted to get that out of the way. Tisha sits down and she starts talking about the 5K, and she lets them know that she did not receive a response from Kimmie or what's her name, Tiffany. I was about to call her Karen. Tiffany. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to put the link in the chat in case you guys do want to come up. I always forget to do this. So I'm going to try it today just to see. The thing is, if you do come up, before you come up, I'd like to see your face in the background. Then I'll bring you on and you can hide your face again. Okay? So Mel tells Tisha that she's excited about the Destiny race. And then they show Destiny in this confessional saying all the Scots want her. And we know that she's joking. But beforehand, when she was talking about, the threesome thing, she was not joking a couple of episodes ago. But this time she's joking. Tisha says to Kimmie, I didn't hear back from Kimmie and Tiffany. And Kimmie says, well, well, let's see, what did Kimmie say? Kimmie says that she sent the message to Tisha's site or something, to another forum that she's on social media. And Tisha says, but you didn't reply back to my test. It's text, Tisha. Text. X. X. Say X, text. Tisha, and then Kimmie says, well, I really didn't like that you put it in a text group with them. And then she points over to Mel and Destiny, and Destiny's like, what, you don't like us? And then Kimmie's like, no, no, no. And then she turns back to and lets Tisha know, you didn't have to put me in a text. And Tisha thought it was okay to put her in the text because she was asking for sponsorships. And I want to say to you, for someone who has her master's and she's a real estate developer and all of these courses she had to have known it is slightly unethical when you are asking for a sponsorship or asking people for donations or funding for your organization or whatever, what have you. It is slightly unethical and it's totally unprofessional to include them in a text group. You do not include messages like that. If you're looking for sponsorship, you need to formulate a letter and send it to each person separately. You can send it to a husband and wife team together, unless you've had some past with them where you would send it to them separately. However, what Tisha did was kind of messy. It's messy. You do not ask people for sponsorships in a text, first of all. So Kimmie, to some degree, has a right to be upset. But on the other side of things, if you notice, Kimmie has been trying to get back at Tisha ever since Tisha brought up Kiowa in Vegas. I believe Kimmie is seeking vengeance. This is her comeback to Tisha. And she's upset about that. You brought up the ex-wife in the presence of the entire group, and you asked her husband if he thought they would still be together if he had stayed and worked things out. You ask him that in the presence of his current wife, and you think that she's not going to have some vengeance for you? She can't wait. That's why even at normally before that, Kimmie was always supportive of Tisha in what she was going through with Marceau. If you notice, when they went out to dinner after they left Vegas, they went out to dinner and they were talking again about Marceau's depression. And Kimmie looked at Tisha and said, sometimes it's the wife. That was another dig. And what we witnessed last night was a full on dig. That's why she kept touching Tisha. That's invasive. As grown people, and I'm in my 50s, and I want to say this to you all who are in your 30s and 40s, young women and men, keep your hands to yourself. If an argument is escalating, or if you're having a very serious conversation with another female or even with a man, whomever you are having that conversation with as an adult, you don't put your hands on them. It's not no honey baby, let me tell you this while you're saying something wrong out the side of your neck. Keep your hands to yourself. She kept touching Tisha. And that was bothersome to me because I'm sitting there thinking, you and Tisha are having a debate right now. Your voices are not raised, but you are in disagreement. Keep your hands to yourself, Kimmie. Kimmie's a bit of a bully. She's probably a person who has grown and changed. And you know why? She's probably a person who asks herself why she does certain things along the way, because that's how we grow. I learned that when I was majoring in journalism. When you have the questions that journalists ask, those what 5 W's and the how and all of that, whatever it is, I use those on myself. Even at work, I use those on myself. And quite frankly, it's usually the people at work who are in the wrong. Even though I use them on myself because I know myself very well from doing that. I always want to know, okay, what happened today? Why did this happen? Really? And internally, why did I respond the way I did? You want to always ask yourself that. Why did I respond the way I did? And don't make it a surface answer. You have to dig deep. What was I feeling when I responded that way? And why was I feeling that way? And you can even write it down and pray over all of it. God will bring you through it. But that is how you build confidence in yourself, because you get to know yourself. And it also builds strength. And that is what Kimmie has probably done something similar over the years. However, she has not learned that she needs to keep her hands to herself. I did not like all that touching when you're having a disagreement, because it could have went either way. And Tisha has a little bit of Wanda in her. She tells Kimmie, oh, where did I get to here? Okay. I did. I text all of you ladies. I keep marking her by saying test, but she tells them pretty much she texts all the ladies, and she didn't think that it would be a big deal, and because they text all the time, that all of them, they always text. Kimmie just reiterates that she did not like being put in a text group to ask her and Maurice for a check. I understand that. I get that. Kimmie tells Tisha. Tisha says, well, I didn't know it would be an issue. Kimmie says, well, it's not an issue. However, Kimmie, you are making it an issue, and you need to dig deep here. You're making it an issue, I believe, because you're upset about her bringing up Kiowa back in Vegas. And now you're bringing it out this way. It's not really misdirected anger, but you're kind of not acknowledging what's really happening inside of you. So Tisha looks at Kimmie and she says, well, why didn't you call me? Kimmie says, why didn't you call me like you normally do? That's gaslighting. When people do that to you, I've asked you a question. Answer my question first, and then ask me your question. Don't answer my question with a question and then go around and create a reason for you having done so. Tisha didn't know it was a problem. Tisha says, so you're going to ask me a question with a question. And Kimmie says, well, I'm going to answer your question, Tisha. I just want you to answer mine. No, Kimmie, Tisha asked the question first. Now, I don't agree with how Tisha's doing this, because Tisha's working some of her little bit of vindictiveness here herself. Tisha goes on to tell Kimmie, she says, I always call you, but your AWS don't ever call me. And then Kimmie says, well, I'm not a big caller. She says she's not a big caller. And Tisha says, well, are you a big planner? Because you seem to be going around planning all these events and you're not even inviting me. And Kimmie says, well, what have I planned that I didn't invite you to, Tisha? I want you to tell me. And Tisha starts to play Kimmie's game. Remember, Kimmie just asked Tisha a question for an answer. Instead of answering the question that Tisha asked, she asked a question. So Tisha is now playing this game. This is Tisha's education kicking in, okay? She's thinking, if you can do what you just did to me, I'm going to do it back to you this way. That's what Tisha's doing. She says, oh, well, I guess it wasn't any worry. I guess it wasn't anything if you say it wasn't. Okay? Then Mel tries to intervene, and Tisha lets Mel know this is between me and Kimmie. Then Tiffany tries to intervene, and Tisha's like, this is between Us two, not you two. In other words, stay out of it. Because now it's reached a level where Tisha understands that if too many mouths get involved, the information is going to uh, get mixed up. It's going to get mixed up, and she doesn't want that. And that's how it ends, guys. And we see next week there's going to be some play between the mamas. And I'm going to tell you, I don't like Wanda. I know people think, oh, we like Wanda. She brings the mess. I'm not one of these people. I don't need to. When I watch The Real Housewives or watch reality shows, I don't need to see mess. I want to see. I don't mind seeing the drama, but I don't want to. I don't want it to get too messy. I don't want it to get too messy. And Wanda is just really too much for me. Too much for me. And Melody's mother is on a whole different level. You can tell by the way she carries herself. She's on a whole different level. I love that she told Wanda, take your hands off me. Because Wanda needs to keep her hands to herself and even needs to stop getting in people's face. That is just ridiculous to me. That's a little psychotic to me as well. I digress. This was it. This was Love and Marriage Huntsville. And is there anyone who wants to come on? I know you guys go on uh, Kimpire and all of these other shows all the time. And you go on the link and you come up and you talk. And I would like to eventually have people who would be interested in doing that with me as well. So Fatima says, Tiffany and Lewis and Tiffany, the great pseudo mediators. Let's hear about their lives before the season is over. I agree. The only reason, the only reason I even dislike them a little bit is because of Lewis, though, and what he brings to the male genre in this Love and Marriage Huntsville. I like what he brings to the guys. I do not like Tiffany at all. She's always trying to act as if she's some super saver. Even when she intervened in this argument with Kimmie and Tisha, she was like, what she said didn't make sense. I was glad that Tisha put her in her place because I really didn't want to hear what she had to say. Didn't want to hear what she had to say. Um, So does anyone, I put up the link if anyone wants to come over and get in. And you guys, please remember to like, subscribe, and click the notifications bell. Tonight we have The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills coming on. I will review that show tomorrow. Even as I'm standing here or sitting here actually talking about this particular review, I'm critiquing myself and I didn't I think what I'm going to start doing is a run through, a verbal, an oral run through before I come on because normally I will watch the shows like 2 or 3 times, really 4, because I watch it on TV and sometimes it ends up being an additional 2 or an additional 3 times that I watch it and I take my notes. I think I'm going to start uh, like orally saying them out loud so that I can get things intact here before I come on and talk to you guys because I have a lot of pauses and I want to get right through it. You know who does a really great who's a really great commentator and does an excellent review, outstanding review, and that is Miss Misha, IMO. Have you guys been over to do you guys know Miss Misha? Thank you, Fatima Forever. I'm glad that you watch it by you watch the show by YouTube. You don't watch it on your cable channel. Well, it seems as though no one wants to come over here and get in the comments, which makes me a little um But that's okay. The authorities are looking into this because I'm very, very skeptical about this page. I'm very skeptical about it. Um, at any rate, thank you for showing up, and I'm going to be out of here. You never heard of her? Yeah. So, do you work for Google, Fatima Forever? Do you work for YouTube and Google? I just want to know. That's right. YouTube has TV, don't they? YouTube does have TV. That's right. I just remembered that. So I'm going to go on and get out of here. Let's see here. Thank you guys for showing up. Please remember to click the like, subscribe, and notifications bell. And I will see you next time around. Have a great evening. Bye bye.